must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is.
It is only in this country that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, "He is our son and he is our thief."
If you are deviant
Yes.
and I call you leader,
Yes.
probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth
Yeah.
in the security,
Yes.
governance,
Yes.
and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers,
Yes.
do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa.
The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich?
Yes.
Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa.
The government of Kenya is keen on the development of social economic infrastructure to support the realization of the Big Four agenda and Vision 2030. The ambitious infrastructure projects are aimed at opening up the country for business and bolster productivity, particularly in the agricultural, manufacturing and the service industry, as this would bolster employment opportunities. Part of these critical infrastructure projects include the ongoing 27-kilometer expressway linking Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport and Nairobi's Westlands. Upon completion, the expressway will exponentially reduce travel times within Nairobi and thus help the country save man-hours, which is being lost in the traffic jams on a daily basis. The Lake Victoria Port Modernization Project to increase cargo handling capacity of the port and to increase Kenya's bilateral and multilateral trading within the region. The expansion of healthcare facilities to facilitate fruition of the country's universal healthcare coverage under the Big Four agenda. By speeding up movement of people and goods, the government is aiming to promote trading through reduction of travel times and costs. A very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. It is the 9th of March 2021, a day that is quite significant in this country, as today we are marking 3 years after that famous handshake on the steps of Njogoo House, and President Uhuru Kenyatta reached out to opposition leader Raila Odinga to start a process that will later on bring the BPI that right now Kenyans will be voting for in the next few months. It's called, as a doctor like to call it, the redemption strategy for this country. And this happened after Kenya was at the brink of really plunging into serious trouble in terms of chaos and animosity. So we do have a lot to talk about today, and we shall be interrogating 3 years later. How has the handshake been faring on? What has it been able to achieve? And we remember just a couple of weeks ago, President Uhuru Kenyatta said that since the handshake, he has been the most happy because he can sleep at night. He's content because that, according to him, set the country to a path of peace and unity and prosperity. So we do have a lot to talk about today. My name is Miriam Agutu, and of course the show is the People's Court. Before I bring in my panelists, I'd like to bring us up to date with the latest figures in terms of COVID-19, and the cases in Kenya this morning stands at 109,164 cases, and then the death toll so far in the country is 1,879. Recovery so far is 87,623. Uganda, the cases have topped 40,479. The death toll is 334, and recovery is 15,065. And then I'll just go quickly to the total cases in Africa this morning, standing at 3,040,300. The number of people who have since succumbed to COVID-19 in the continent right now standing at 102,425 cases, and recovery so far is 2,701,001 cases there. So that is where we stand this morning. Still not as bad as the rest of the world had predicted it will be here in Africa. So right now we're joined by Jevan Karanja all the way from Nanyuki. Jevan, a very good morning to you.
Indeed, it's a very good morning, Miriam. 3 years of Handshake is not simple because it has been tried to be brought down, but finally we are here. And good morning to our viewers. Thanks for having me on the show this morning.
All right, thank you so much, and it is a pleasure to have you this morning. We are also joined by Douglas Bundi Kirimi from Meru County. Douglas, a very good morning to you. Okay, as we wait for Douglas there, his signal to join, I think, I don't know if Professor is there. Professor, if you can hear me, good morning to you. All right, so let's just wait for Professor and Douglas to join. They shall be with us here very, very shortly. So I'll quickly go through the headlines, and then we shall just get into our main story for the day, 3 years of Handshake. And on the Standard newspaper, the headline there, twists and turns in Uhuru Raila deal. 3 years later, anniversary of the handshake clouded by suspicions, with Raila allies smelling betrayal, but their partners maintain that mere turbulence does not mean the plane is going to crash. That is the main story. And then up there, panic as head teachers must transfer looms. And beside there, Meghan, I almost committed suicide. I don't know if you watched that interview there, Prince Harry and his wife. And on the Star newspaper, the front pages, chaos rock Uhuru's 2022 succession plan. State House officials are fronting and supporting different political candidates. The story is on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper, and the main pictorial there is women pan for gold in Migori as world marks their day. That was yesterday. And all right, and on the Daily Nation this morning, the main headline there reads, last ditch bid to save handshake. Truce after blowing hot and cold over a scheduled meeting at State House to agree on a way forward to the Building Bridges initiative. Reports that party leaders will converge this afternoon pointed to a last-minute efforts to broker peace between ODM and Jubilee, and the story is on page 4 of the Daily Nation there. So let's just start with our first newspaper this morning. Professor, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Chavan, and our viewers, wherever they are.
All right. Good morning, and nice to have you on the show today. So today is very significant to this country as far as the process of finding a lasting peace is concerned, because on March 9th, 2018, Uhuru and Raila met with the intention to end the impasse that had followed the 2017 disputed presidential elections and the tension that came with it. It brought to an end the acrimony between leading political parties and tribes and promised to usher in a new era of peace. The two leaders pledged to work together to address ethnic division, corruption, and historical injustice. And we see a lot of those issues are captured in the PBI report. And for those who have not had an opportunity opportunity to go through it. I know the government promised to have available copies very soon, but also you can still find the information online, and you can familiarize yourself with what really is in the BBI, and it captures the essence of why even the handshake came together. So twists and turns in Uhuru Raila deal. I'll just start with you in a basic question there. I'll start with you, Javan. 3 years later, was the handshake necessary?
Yeah, thank you, Miriam, for that question. And as a proponent of a handshake and the BBI, I can say that a handshake was a very important thing that happened to this country, because we have seen this country stabilize politically, and to a point extends to the economic growth of this nation. And Miriam, let me say this: from after 2017 general election, this country was polarized. This country was almost coming to a standstill. This country was stagnated. But after the handshake, Miriam, that is when this country came back to its, got back to its rails, and things started rolling out. Business got back to normalcy, and Miriam, and political temperatures cooled. And through that initiative of handshake, the spirit of patriotism, the spirit of Kenyanism has started growing among Kenyans. Miriam, these days, there's a feeling, although we are still tribal, there's a feeling that this country is bigger than all of us, because former Prime Minister and President Uhuru Kenyatta, when they shook hands, they did that because they did do it out of their personal interest, but rather for the interest of all Kenyans, to ensure that in future, Miriam, this kind of events, this political acrimony that we experience after general elections will come to an end. And 2017 was the end of all this kind of upheaval that happens after election. Therefore, handshake came and it gave birth to an offspring called BBI that seeks to come up with remedy, both punitive and curative measures to ensure that this country will not go back to political divisive election, to amplify the fight against corruption, so that we have a country to call home. Miriam, today, 3 years of handshake, we have seen a lot development going across the country. When you go to Kisumu today, we have the Uhuru Park, where people are able to do their business. We have roads. We have the Lake Victoria economic blue economy initiative that intends to create job to thousands of young people. These developments that are going even to area dominated by opposition shows that this country, we are heading on the right direction. Miriam, we know business are mostly affected, but today, Miriam, business people who are doing business from other regions, investing in different areas of this country, they feel at home because of handshake, and they feel that their business are protected. And as we go to 2022 general election, people will go vote and continue with their business without having to relocate to other places, because of the peace, tranquility, unity, and love that will be achieved through this handshake and through BBI. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Javan. Very well said. Professor, this handshake, was it necessary?
Yes, Miriam, it was necessary. And this is something which, Miriam, I have never felt you, because I don't like saying it. Once we have generated knowledge, if you go and use it and pass an exam, that's my joy. But you don't just go and say that Miriam used my work and it passed an exam. Miriam, I was being interviewed on 24th September 2017. I was being asked the implication of the nullification of the Supreme Court of the presidential elections and the emergence of resist, which was coming on, which was dividing the country. People had decided, Miriam, to divide Kenya. Some sections of this country I don't want to name, you know, they had removed the portrait of the president, Miriam. You know that one very well. And I don't know why some people in this country will choose to have a memory like the one of Awathol, which is being attacked by the crocodile when it is drinking water, it moves some miles back and it goes back to the danger, Miriam. This is what I said, that the engineer Raila Amolo Odinga, the Prime Minister, and the President for the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, these are not ordinary Kenyans as you think. That's why we want the people are trying to ask around. These are sons who their fathers have got a history. One, his father was detained for 7 years, trying to fight for the independence of this country. The other one was struggling, and you cannot erase or delete.
We apologize. We do apologize for that. We do apologize for that. Professor, just hold on a moment there. As we a bit of an interruption there. Go ahead, Professor. Go ahead, Professor. Complete your thought. Okay. All right, Professor, go ahead. We apologize. Technology sometimes can be a bit challenging there. As we wait for our friend to join us. Professor, go ahead, conclude your thought.
After having said that one, Miriam, this is what I said. That if they want to die by then, and they go and meet their fathers and ask you, how have you left Kenya? Which answer will they tell them? I say they should sit, two of them in a room, and ask themselves on the right core issues, what makes them not agree? When after independence, they will fight to bring the independence of this country. Remember, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga was given the opportunity to make the first government. He said we were fighting for Uhuru na Kenyatta. So if there was no Kenyatta, no independence. And it came to pass. And in fact, Miriam, when they met, two of them, we saw what we are seeing today, Miriam. So these beast bodies whom we are not seeing around, Miriam, who are trying to bring noise, make noise, they were not part of what the president and the prime minister discussed to have an handshake. So, Miriam, the handshake is much alive. You see the kind of process which we are going, and we are almost reaching the tail end of just going for the referendum and try to address some of the issues they were able to identify. And also they gave us an opportunity, Miriam, to ventilate, to say, well, we want to change our governance structure and what needs to be done. So, Miriam, from where I sit, the best thing which happened for this country was the handshake. The handshake is what became a replica of what happened in Southern Sudan. Remember, more than 385,000 Southern Sudanese had died. But Miriam, they had to embrace the handshake. There's a time when the country becomes greater than all of us, Miriam. Unless there's a signal from the president and the prime minister that all is not well, Miriam, just assume, let us just be like the cow going to the river. Let us drink water. Let the frogs and other creatures in the water make noise. But the Kenyans are stand. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga, they are human beings. They might have not identified what may affect Kenya. But the fact that they were to agree and shook hands, which has brought peace and tranquility, Miriam, it is a good thing.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Jared Onyari. Douglas Kirimi, a very good morning to you. This handshake, really, was it necessary?
Thank you, Miriam, and a very good morning to you and to my fellow panelists and also to everyone else. Yes, the handshake was necessary. Miriam, remember, people behave as if we don't know where we are coming from as a country. Businesses were brought to a halt in this country. I like giving the story of the father of my best friend, Simon Nganga, who, when there were post-elections violence in Kisumu, they lost a 26 million depot. They were distributing alcohol in the Nyanza region. In 2017, they lost about 20 million shilling depot again. And when these people pretend that they don't know where our country is coming from, I have a big and a huge problem with such kind of people, because Miriam, the handshake was necessary for the progress of our country, and also for our country to be able to move forward from a secret, a violent election period to a period of tranquility, peace, and also progress as a nation. One thing I can be able to route the president and the right honorable the prime minister is to sieve their personal ambitions, and also coming together and shaking hands. When they shook hands, we were able to get our country on the right track. We were able to implement development to unprecedented levels. The president has been able to have a peace of mind. He can now be able to deliver his mandate without worrying about opposition. The opposition in this country has been able now to agree that this time the president has to complete his term. The people of this country can move from one corner of this country without prejudicing each other against because of elections. One thing we need to be able to see the truth is that before, when you used to go to Kisumu, they used to remind you how you used to steal the elections. But today the president can go to Kisumu and the Kisumu city can come to a standstill. Everyone wants a piece of the president, and that is the Kenya that we want. We want a country where people are proud to be Kenyans, and where people can be able to come together and grow their nation and move forward, Miriam. Another aspect from my perspective is that this country needed the handshake for us to be able to realize what ails our country, to correct what we can, and also to correct what we cannot now as we move forward, Miriam. For example, today we know that inclusivity is a thorn in the flesh of many Kenyans. And Ichamas in this country, Arendile in this country, a person from the Somali community in this country, they will no longer feel marginalized because they will have their voices, the young people have their voices and not only heard, they will have their voices heard loudly in a constitutional moment where we have the BBI process to be able to have these issues entrenched in our constitution, Miriam. So I believe truly from the deepest parts of my heart, this handshake was very, very necessary. And it is very close to my heart because the handshake was born on the very day that I was born. Thank you, Miriam.
Oh, yes. Yeah, happy birthday to you, Douglas. Thank you for reminding me. I forgot. Happy birthday to you. I will not say your age. I can guess. But very happy birthday to you. Thank you so much. Musa Abdi, this handshake, how would you say it has impacted the local Monanchi, the common Monanchi?
Thank you, Miriam. I think it's a learning process, Miriam, up to now. You know, whatever we are going through as a nation, this is a nation which is now going to nearly, we have now surpassed half a century as far as we are old since we got independence, Miriam. We've had many good documents. We've had many shelved documents. We've shelved Ndungu report. We've shelved Waki report. We've shelved Truth, Justice and Reconciliation report, Miriam. Now when I see all those shelved reports are alluded to political interferences, Miriam. We remember the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission report was so clear and it was so direct to the point, Miriam, to a level that the people who started getting afraid of its implementation, Miriam, were the same politicians. Now another axe is on the way, the name of BBI. I've always doubted, Miriam, the genuinity and the intention of these leaders. What do I mean by this? Mwai Kibaki initiated a committee of inquiry to look into the BBI, the TJRC report. Edwel Kiplagat went to the ground, brought everything. But now when Mwai Kibaki tasked departments and state ministries to handle issues of TJRC, they could not take a pinch. The same is now happening to this BBI, Miriam. Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga have done their best. They have tried to form the committee, everything. They are funding it, they are giving it strength. But what are we seeing here, Miriam? Leadership interference again. From state ministries, we are yet to know the person. But one thing I would like to make it clear, Miriam, this is the problem we have been repeating over and over again since independence. To no vain, Miriam. And to my submission also, when I try to critique how effective is our institution in passing bills in passing reports which have been advanced by the executive? The answer is very simple, Miriam. Our legislature is not carried by conscience, they are not carried by ideologies, they are not carried by...
Musa, my question was, what impact has the handshake had on the common Mwananchi? That was my question.
Yes, Miriam, I'm heading there. I'm heading there. And when you look at now the levels of institution and how they can alleviate and they can pass the recommendations, the BBI report, Miriam, things ought to be very easy, but we are seeing a lot of political interference. Now, coming to your question, how BBI ought to have an impact on the common Mwananchi?
The handshake. How has it impacted?
Yeah, I mean,
yes. Before we get to the BBI, we're looking at the handshake. Yes. 3 years. That's what we're looking at today.
I mean the handshake.
Yes.
Sorry. BBI is as a result of the handshake.
But let's just look at the handshake first. Yes. Go ahead.
Since we are now heading into our third year since its inception, we've enjoyed what we call peace, Miriam. Kenyans have not been in any way engaging in political demonstrations. This is what we've been seeing in the events immediately events preceding the elections. Miriam, we've seen in 2013 when Raila Amolo Odinga lost. In 2017, you remember very well the sabotage of telecommunication companies, the sabotage of some milk producing companies by the opposition, telling their voters, you should not buy from this, you should not buy from this. There have been a lot of divide as far as economics and reconciliation is concerned, Miriam. So the 3 years have been. This is what I will call a phony years. The 3 years have been silent. Even if there were some violent elements, they have really been treated very well. They have really been, handled. As far as Miriam, also, I think the handshake has really helped the common Mwananchi to understand the difference between leadership and politics, Miriam. Politics is whereby people make decisions, but also people make decisions for their own interest, Miriam. The other one is leadership. At least the common Mwananchi, they have been perceived that even the one who has been rigged out as many times as possible, the one whose votes has been stolen many times over and over again, can forgive, Miriam. Reconciliation has been there. We've seen communities interacting, Miriam, as far as our Kikuyu, Mount Kenya brothers and Luo brothers are concerned. I know I'm over neutral coming from a swing state, but you remember the 2007-2008 post-election violence really involved these two communities. I've seen a lot of cohesion. I've seen a lot of diversity in them. I've seen a lot of, compromise in them, Miriam. And finally, the handshake I see is that there are some good issues coming up. At least the handshake is giving the ideals that you don't have to be a host for you to be a leader. The only thing you need is an ideal. The only thing you need is understanding, a conscience. When Raila Amolo Odinga came together and shook hands with Uhuru Kenyatta, what we understood from that perspective was, yes, there might be politics, but let us put our politics aside. Because what we were anticipating, if that could not have been done, then Raila Amolo Odinga could have been in a very strong opposition till now, Miriam. The government of President Uhuru Kenyatta could not have been able to be efficient as it is now. So as far as this is concerned, I think that is what I'm able to identify.
All right. Thank you so much, Musa Abdi Haji. They are now given the continuing political stalemate after the Supreme Court's annulment of President Uhuru Kenyatta's August 8th win. The biggest responsibility for saving Kenya was rested in these two leaders from what we saw there happen. Jevan, would you say these two leaders, President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga, have lived up to the occasion?
Miriam, that is true, because when we had the nullification of the 2017 general election, this country almost erupted because you could see the tension. Everybody was surprised, and it's something that was not quite anticipated, because in various jurisdictions, having a presidential election nullified, especially in Africa, was something that was out of our mind, and we thought maybe as 2013 President Uhuru Kenyatta win would be upheld by the Supreme Court. But Miriam, we saw a lot of things. This country, after the nullification, after Raila Amolo Odinga deceased to go to the ballot, and you know the tension and everything, he went to Uhuru Park, he saw himself as a people's president, and that is when they started boycotting goods from various companies. Therefore, on economic parameters, the country was not heading in the right direction. And I think that is why there was necessity of having a handshake. Then, Miriam, things that made us fight then in 2017 or disagree was merely out of an election. Therefore, means there are some underlying issues that made us have that level of agitation that made the ODM to go to the street. That is what BBI and the handshake is trying to add them, so that as Kenyans we can understand what is this that makes us, as we go for an election, some guys are very bitter, some guys are very happy. We want to come for a neutral ground, that when we go for a general election, the feeling is mutual across the country. Nobody is feeling preferred, nobody is feeling like they have been sabotaged. And that is why the president and former prime minister, they came and they shook hands so that we can settle these issues. Therefore, from the look of things, BBI and handshake, BBI came out of handshake, is trying to settle these kind of problems that we have experienced as we go for a general election. And most importantly, is to deal with the divisive election. And the BBI, through handshake, is trying to strengthen the electioneering body, so that, Miriam, at least we can avoid this confrontation that we have after elections, so that we can have an election that the word from the IBC would be the final. And if it's be contested, then the decision made by the IBC can be the most upheld by our courts. I think by doing that, we'll assure ourselves credibility, we'll assure ourselves an election that is free from all malpractices, and this will ensure Kenyans that they can vote and continue with their business without having to move from one place to another, without having to go to the streets, without having business shut down, without boycotting goods. That is the country that the handshake wants to build. And for 3 years, Miriam, we have experienced it. And if it was an experiment, the results are positive. BBI is what we have been we need as a country.
Okay.
Thank you.
If it was an experiment, then the results are positive. Kangata doesn't feel the same way. The other day he said, after ODM members there said whatever they said, led by Senator of Siaya, he said, you know what, that handshake is as good as dead. I promise you, you can take that to the bank. But anyway, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, the makers or the authors of this handshake, has continued to show unity of purpose despite of the turbulence that sometimes has been experienced. Professor, you've mentioned there earlier the significance of these two leaders coming together, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, and you pegged it on their father's history, just going back after Kenya got its independence. So why is it significant that these two leaders would have the mandate or the responsibility and perhaps should be able to bring Kenyans together and leave a truly united Kenya?
Thank you, Miriam. At independence, Miriam, the founding fathers of this nation, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta and the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, they gave an undertaking, Miriam, to fight poverty, to fight ignorance, to fight disease. And it formed the National Paper number 10 of 1965, Miriam. So, all that, Miriam, that you have built, your dad has built, you don't destroy. The least you can do is to leave it the way it is. But if there is room for an improvement, you do it. Miriam, I want to be very honest. And honesty is my policy. I want to speak the truth. You have heard the President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta saying some of the leaders were elected because of him. You know very well, as I do, Senator Orengo was elected simply because of he comes from ODM-dominated region. What I want to say, Miriam, some of the people who seem to be undermining the handshake, Miriam, they are thinking about 2022, their survival. And they know once we go through the referendum, Miriam, their faith is sealed. Because the euphoria which they normally enjoy, you know what Musa said and Douglas has said, Miriam. The handshake and the BBI, Miriam, it talks about national ethos. We want to feel that we are Kenyans. Why should someone not want us to feel like Kenyans, Miriam? Why do people not want us to share prosperity in this nation, Miriam? Some of the characters you can see in the Tangatanga wing, even the Orengos wing, Miriam, they are thinking about 2022, how they are going to be elected, Miriam. And for them to just ride on this, they have to cause chaos in the handshake. So the intention, Miriam, when you say that you want to walk out of the handshake, what's the handshake? Where was it discussed, Miriam? You have rightly asked me a very good question. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has openly come, and I trust him. He's my president. He's the leader for this country, Miriam. He never discussed how he will help Raila Amolo Odinga to be the president in 2020. They did not discuss that one. Raila himself has been not once, not twice, several times. Don't ask me about 2022. Let us deal with what we have now. Then how can someone comes, Miriam, and say, oh no, the handshake is being undermined? Where is the MOU? Where are the terms where they signed and agreed, Miriam? Like the Grand Coalition. This is the responsibility, this obligation for this one. This is from where I sit, Miriam. Raila Amolo Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta have got a responsibility, moral responsibility, to ensure Kenya remains peaceful, because that's what their father stood for. You can see when Uhuru was a young boy, a small child, he could walk with Kenyatta in most photos you see. You can see Raila when he was a young boy, he would be walking with Jaramogi. So these are significant leaders, Miriam, when you see this. And what they did for the country, Miriam, is good. You know very well, as I've said before, Miriam, I love this country. I will not even want someone, Miriam, because of an election, that you lose your home, you lose your dear one, Miriam, you lose your property. Someone comes and even takes your land. Even when the court says that go and give him the land, you frustrate him until he goes to the grave, Miriam. This is the Kenya we find ourselves, and that's why you can be able to see how they want to scatter it, Miriam. You know very well, PPI and the handshake, Miriam. We cannot address ignorance. We cannot address poverty. We cannot address diseases, Miriam, if we cannot be able to fight corruption. I don't know why sometimes Kenyans get annoyed the way I do. How someone will be having money in bags, in shacks, going to churches every other day, going retailing all over the country, having jobbers, Miriam. And the Kenyans, they don't see Miriam. So from where I see Miriam, them coming together to ensure that if Kenya has to move forward, if we have to have shared prosperity among the people of this country, Miriam, then we have to fight corruption. We have to fight corruption. So the things which divides, and Miriam, let me tell you for one, for the 3 years as we are talking about the handshake, you could see the president going to Kisumu. He said that these days I can sleep. Honestly, that is a testimony again that he can be able to sleep. You can see Raila calling Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta the president, something which was so difficult for him to say. Because of the handshake, he can define him as the president. He can call him brother. This is the kind of spirit, Miriam, that we need to take this country forward. I need to see you as my sister. I need to see Chavan, Douglas, Musa as my brother, so that we can be able to take this country. This country, Miriam, is enough for all of us, but not enough for one great individual. And that's why they want to do all the manner of things that they scatter the handshake, but they will be shocked.
Well.
We are the final tale. And what I want to tell them, Miriam, and Douglas did say yesterday here, Kenya will not be the vacuum even if BBI does not pass. In 2005, Miriam, we failed the referendum. We know side won. Kenya did not stop. Kenya moved on. But what came there after 2 years? That is the route that we don't want to walk. And that's why we are warning Kenyans. Please let us embrace each other. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. And you've mentioned the 2022 politics and how really it has affected perhaps the process of this handshake. And the main headline on the Standard newspaper this morning reads, "Twists and turns in Uhuru-Raila deal. 3 years later, anniversary of the handshake clouded by suspicions, with Raila's allies smelling betrayal, but their partners maintain that mere turbulence does not mean the plane is going to crash." President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga, as a professor there you've reminded us, has on several occasions come out and said this has nothing to do with 2022 succession politics. This has nothing to do with President Uhuru Kenyatta serving his term and going home and him, bestowing the position to Raila Odinga, because Kenyans will have to decide on that. And so why is it that their allies don't get it, that this is not a political process? What is it? What point are they missing that these two principles are saying, but they're looking at it from a different manner? Why can they understand that this is not a political process? Douglas.
Thank you, Miriam. The very simple reason is that Raila is too presidential to be helped by President Uhuru Kenyatta to win an election in 2022.
What do you mean by that? It's too presidential.
Miriam, if it was Douglas Bundi Keremi that was being propped up by President Uhuru Kenyatta or any other shenanigan that we are hearing that the president at the State House is doing, and I like the media. The media like setting an agenda, and the tabloids also pick it up, and also the bloggers and everything. Helping Raila Odinga, a man who has been running for president since 1997 when the president was first running for an MP seat, would be an understatement, Miriam, when you tell us Raila has been waiting for all these years. In 1997, I had not even gone to school, Miriam. I was barely speaking. In 1997, Raila ran for president and became number 3. In 2002, he teamed up with Kibaki. In 2007, he ran in the disputed election that brought us almost to our knees as a nation, 2013, 2017. This man is too presidential for him to be helped in 2022. And I'm not saying the president should not help Raila if he feels like it is his democratic right to help Raila. But Raila is too presidential to be helped in 2022. What the allies of Raila are missing is that now Raila is ready for him to take his last shot at presidency, and Raila is an elder in terms of presidential elections in this country. There is no man who has an experience in running for president and running campaigns like Raila Odinga. But what these people want to tell us is that now they are edging for the president to endorse them. And Miriam, you know very well, at the end of the day, whoever the president is going to anoint to become his preferred presidential candidate, there will be problems in this country. There will be problems in terms of the politicals in this country, or rather the political class, feeling as enshrined like in 2022, and nobody would want such a scenario. Raila himself would never want such a scenario. But any welcome from the president and his men is welcome to Raila's side. But there is no foundation that is bad for Raila. But Raila being propped by President Uhuru Kenyatta to succeed him in 2022, that one cannot happen. Raila cannot be able to accept that openly. But the president can do anything that he can to help his handshake brother to be able to win and become president. That is the essence of politics, Miriam. What the allies of Raila are missing today is that Raila has been running for president since 1997. Maybe he has found the answer to the puzzle of the jigsaw of his presidential campaigns. One thing we need to understand and also not to underestimate is that Raila Odinga, the former prime minister, the former presidential candidate since 1997, is a formidable force in terms of presidential races and also in terms of management of campaigns. What Raila has been missing since 1997, maybe it's about time he has cracked the nut. Maybe it's about time Raila ran for president. But these people who are telling us that the president and Raila should talk about 2022, Miriam have said before, with due respect to the president of the Republic of Kenya, Raila has been running for president since 1997. propping up Raila and saying that the president wants to anoint him and help him, Raila commands considerable support across the nation.
So he does not need that kind of endorsement.
Yes, Miriam?
He does not need or require that type of endorsement for him to run for presidency in this country.
My honest opinion, Miriam, and including any intellectual, anyone in this country, knows that Raila can go and walk into Garissa, do his own meetings and move. Raila can come to Mount Kenya, do his own meetings and move. But if this time if the president refused, and his family and also his supporters, we the supporters of President Uhuru Kenyatta, if he wakes up today and tells us it is Raila Odinga, then we can now accept that as the people of Kenya, as people for a president, go and vote for Raila. But Raila does not need propping up and also being helped by President Uhuru Kenyatta. Raila knows it, President knows it, and any person, a person of goodwill, a person who wants the handshake to continue, a person who wants reforms in this country, constitutional movement, so that Kenyans can be able to change the narrative and also take their country forward, Miriam. A man that was running for president in 1997, what can we help him do, Miriam? Except rather than handing him power over to him so that he can go to State House for 5 years. This is a man that is too presidential to be propped for president, Miriam. That is what his allies, in many words, are missing. Thank you.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much.
Let me just hammer one point which the Douglas is putting, and I want it to come out very clear.
Go ahead, Professor.
Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga, he has won an election in this country. He has won an election in this country. He defeated Miriam. It is because people don't want to read. The disputed general election of 2007 million. Raila had just beaten the president, Mwai Kibaki, by 2 million votes. We don't know what happened. But with sometimes, Miriam, let me tell you, people don't understand who the prime minister is. And as a professor of legacy, I have got a lot of respect for him. Miriam, you win an election, you go and shake hands, and you tell that one, okay, be the president, let me just be the prime minister. And you want to tell me that this man doesn't love this country? Miriam, this one man who the Supreme Court of this country go and say direction were not done properly. He says, I'm not going to participate. He doesn't participate. Then he goes for the handshake. And tells Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, you are in the government, form the government. I don't want anything from your government. We don't see Raila's men in the government, Miriam. Common distance tells us that's what Douglas is saying. That the president, if he's a man who believes in his words, and I know the president is a gentleman, he will support Raila Amolo Odinga.
But they've made, Professor,
of the country. This one needs to be said, Miriam.
But yes, but they've made it.
Kenya will not be what we have today
without
that
together. Yes, but
that is what Douglas is saying.
The two leaders have said,
with the president or without the president.
The two leaders
has been assistant presidential candidate.
Yes, indeed. And the two
if
leaders.
The president says that I can support him, that will be a good thing. That's what Douglas is saying.
And I hear you, Professor, and I hear you, Douglas, as well. But the two leaders have been very categorical. Let's separate this BBI process from politics. When time comes for 2022, which is months away, next year, and then we'll start talking about it. But for right now, our responsibility and our main focus right now is try to bring Kenyans together. And how can we do this through BBI? Let's try to rectify some of these things in our constitution that will better address the challenges we have today. So right now, they've said and they have committed, and that's how they've been acting and carrying out themselves. They don't bring in the politics. They've been separating a BBI from 2022 politics, but their allies do not know how to do that. Why is that, Abdi? Musa.
Miriam, the reason why...
Miriam, I'm there.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons, Miriam, which it has really become, you've been asking about issues of, these allies and how it has been really very hard, Miriam, on how these people should be working together on different venues in achieving what we can call BBI and the handshake issue. It's a very hard question, but Miriam will go direct and say there is no genuinity and trust among our leaders. If there is a leader who can come All the leaders we are having in this country, they have 9 lives, Miriam. They know they will use the game of what if. What if today this happens? What if today this happens? So for them, there is no that commitment, there is no that dedication, there is no that pure loyalty and ability to stay committed to effecting the implementation of these handshake and BBI stuff. So the problem we have is Alfred Mutua is here. He wants to be the governor for Machakos. He is contemplating between either if the constitution is going to allow for him to run for third term. Here is again Alfred Mutua wishing to be the party leader of Wiper. Here is Alfred Mutua again wishing to be the presidential candidate. Here he has Alfred Mutua again lobbying for funds for Machakos County. So our leaders have 9 lives, Miriam. We don't have leaders who are committed to ensure certain things are done to the latter, Miriam. And when you look at how even the rift have started to emerge, when the civil servants are now, some senior civil servants have been alleged that they are trying to sabotage or they are trying to delay the implementation and the passage of this BBI bill, Miriam, what you look in that perspective is, if indeed that particular civil servant is really committed to believing with the true ideals and the wordings of that document, Miriam, he or she could not have had that heart of sabotage. We've put everything and anything, Miriam, into political perspective in this country. Look at Kazim Dani, look at Huduma Number, look at Kenya's intervention in Somalia, even the other day, look at Locust, Miriam. Everything is political. We've never had, even the free primary education which Mwai Kibaki brought, people politicized it, Miriam. And it has become really challenged how we can draw a thin line, a broad line between politics and institutional frameworks like these issues of BBI, Miriam. And what do we get? The leaders who have been given this mandate are political appointees. Political appointment, the fight can go is 5 to 6 years, Miriam. But this document is going to last for a quarter of a century or even half a century. Now, what do we got here? There is no consistency on who is going to understand the document better. When I will take an example of when Ronald Reagan took over the presidency in the United States of America, Miriam, his foreign policy was building friends and foes abroad. Whether you have an enemy, whether you have a friend, build them, strengthen them. What Ronald Reagan did in 1981 to 1989, Miriam, is up to date informing Joe Biden's American presidency foreign policy of building friendship, strengthening friendship, and also demanding condemnation of those people who have been oppressed in the world. That is consistency. You look at the Kenyan government, Miriam, the sessional paper 10 of 1965, which Professor Jared Onyari spoke about it, was indeed everything is done per it. Everything is done according to the paper. But now we've lost the meaning of the paper along the way, Miriam. Daniel Arap Moi never took it serious. He was taking more of a patronage, presidency and sort of the stuff. We come to Mwai Kibaki. He left session paper aside. He said Vision 2030, it's good. Now the President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy, a big four agenda, it's a good agenda. But Miriam, have we attained Vision 2030? So what we are lacking is a living
but when you see how President Uhuru Kenyatta has been carrying out his developmental projects, it is actually based on the Vision 2030, the blueprint that was laid down. He just took over from what President Kibaki was able to achieve and is building on that from what we've been seeing happening, especially when it comes to infrastructure and other areas. Would you not agree with that?
But Miriam, yeah, I fully agree. The problem has been not from the president's part, but the problem has been from the bureaucracy part. You remember the socio-economic pillars of Vision 2030. It's very evidential, it's in their infrastructure. But now, unfortunately, you can't blame this on President Uhuru Kenyatta. This is something which has been existing since independence. The way our political institutions work, they usually don't attain the full completion of a certain project. They will influence the executive and tell them, we need to increase funding. Yeah, funding should be increased because economies keep on rising and the cost of things keep on rising. What I'm trying to say is that, Miriam, we don't have that particular person We don't have that reliable individual. Raila Amolo Odinga is a political element. President Uhuru Kenyatta is the symbol of national unity. These people will come and go, Miriam. We don't have that particular institution which shall act as a fabric, of which I blame the National Cohesion and Integration Commission for failing on their role, Miriam, as far as this is concerned. I wish they could be standing at a point whereby whether President Uhuru Kenyatta is here or not, whether Raila Amolo Odinga is here or not, the protection and implementation of the BBI 9-point agenda is fully attended and is fully completed, Miriam. Okay. The problem we have, and that's why William Ruto is threatening us now, that if indeed he's going to win in 2022, no one shall consider BBI. But he will not be able to do so, Miriam, if indeed we have a reliable, established institution which is mandated to ensuring such kind of development in this region, Miriam.
Okay. Thank you so much. And before we continue with this conversation, I know we've been talking about that very famous handshake that took place on the steps of Jogoo House. That is the official office of the President of the Republic of Kenya. Let me just bring us up to date and remind us what really happened on that day, what President Uhuru Kenyatta said, and what opposition leader, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga said on that day, 9th of March 2018.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press and fellow Kenyans, in the life of any nation, a time comes when the people and their leaders must audit the progress made towards the attainment of the goals and prayers laid out at the founding of the nation. Abraham Lincoln said, and I quote, "If we could first know where we are and whither we are tending, we could then better judge what to do and how to do it." When such time comes, the leaders entrusted to secure the goals, in our case, justice, unity, peace, liberty and prosperity for all, have a duty to reflect on their performance in the search for these hallowed goals. Such a time has come for Kenya. 54 years into independence, we are challenged to audit our progress towards the ideals for which our fathers fought to establish a free and independent country, and for which many of our compatriots died. We, the leaders, are equally summoned to reflect on our performance toward the achievement of our nation's aspirations. This audit and introspection has been a long time coming. Throughout our independence history, we have had doubts on how we have conducted our affairs in the face of growing divide along ethnic, religious, and political lines. Regrettably, we have responded to our challenges by mostly running away from them. We have moved from year to year, election to election, never pausing to deal with the challenges that our diversity was always going to pose to our efforts to create a prosperous and a united nation. Consequently, the ties that bind us are today under the severest of stress. Our diversity appears destined to be a curse to ourselves today and to our children tomorrow. In the past, we have given a lot of attention to institutional reforms in the hope that this could lift us to the next level of nationhood and make us a blessed land. 7.5 years ago, we gave to ourselves a new constitution. We put our faith in it as the instrument to revolutionize our nation. In this way and many other ways, we created some of the best hardware any country has ever possessed to engineer their affairs. We must be courageous enough to admit that it has not worked. It has failed because we are yet to upgrade our software. We have been pouring new wine into old wineskins. The gospel tells us that new wine needs new wineskins. The time has come for us to confront and resolve our differences. These differences are becoming too entrenched. No two Kenyans agree on the origins of the differences and what they portend. Millions of our children continue to be born and married into these differences. People are dying out of these differences. Many of these differences are already well entrenched in the third generation of Kenyans that are currently leaking into the fourth generation in primary and secondary schools. Yet in many instances, Kenyans cannot remember why and where they disagreed in the first place. As we fight ostensibly to save ourselves from each other, the reality is we need to save our children from ourselves. My brother and myself have therefore come together today to say this dissent stops here. We refuse to allow our diversity to kill our nation. We refuse to be the leaders under whose watch Kenya's lead into a failed nation. This is a call to self-reflection. We have to look into ourselves and challenge our readiness to make the changes that will allow our institutional reforms to work. So long as we remain divided, acrimonious, selfish, and corrupt, no amount of institutional reform will better our lives. The reform process will become an exercise in diverting attention from our own failings and taking refuge in the blame game. We therefore seek your partnership in this initiative, fellow Kenyans. We are all sailing in this one ship. We must come together to scoop out the water that has been seeping, or we shall capsize. We have traveled too far to turn back. We would never make it back to the shore. Yet we can't make it to our destination either. Our only option is to come together and scoop out the waters of animosity that we have been pouring into the boat before we all sink. Once again, as Lincoln said, the result is not doubtful. We shall not fail. If we stand firm, we shall not fail. God bless Kenya. So, kwa Kiswahili tumekuja pamoja na ndugu yangu Uhuru Kenyatta. Tumeongea kwa kirefu na tumekubaliana ya kwamba tunataka kuunganisha.
First and foremost, I have taken great pleasure this morning in welcoming my brother Raila to Harambee House, where, as he has clearly indicated, we have had the opportunity for extensive discussions on matters Kenya. And we have come to a common understanding, an understanding that this country of Kenya is greater than any one individual. And that for this country to come together, leaders must come together. Leaders must be able to discuss their differences. Leaders must be able to discuss freely and openly what ails our country, what is the reason and the cause for the ethnic divisions and frictions that we see across the country, that sometimes lead to even intercommunal conflicts, as we have seen in various parts of our country. We have seen up in Wajir, as we have seen in the borders of West Pokot and Marakwet and many other places. So we have a responsibility as leaders to be able to come together to discuss these issues and to find solutions that will bind our people together, that will unify our country, and that will give us a life cycle that is beyond the 5 years that we have established for ourselves. Elections come and go, but Kenya remains. So as we plan ourselves for the future, our future cannot be dictated by the forthcoming election. Our future must be dictated by the prosperity, stability of our nation and the well-being of our people. Democracy is not, as has often been said, an end in itself. It is just a process by which the will of the people is heard, but the national good, the national interest must always prevail over those elections. And this is what me and my brother have agreed, that starting today, we will begin a process of bringing our people together, that we will begin a process of discussing what ails us and what creates division amongst us. And we look forward to the support of every single leader. We look forward to the support of every single Kenyan so that we can build together a united, harmonious, stable nation where no individual feels left out or left behind. So to me, this marks a new beginning for our country, a beginning in which we hope that we shall march together as Kenyans and that we can differ in terms of political alignment, but always remain steadfast and united in matters Kenya. So with those few and brief remarks, a more detailed statement will be given to all of you to be able to read and to understand, that formulates this new beginning that we seek to start. And we thank you for finding time to join us. And as my brother has said, we look forward to you to be our partners to create this new Kenya. Thank you, and God bless you.
Welcome back. That was the famous speech of President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga during that famous handshake there that happened after a very acrimonious election that the country had just come out of in 2017. The handshake happened on the 9th of March 2018, and today marks 3 years of that handshake that led to the process of a Building Bridges initiative. And now, as I mentioned there earlier, Kenyans are bound to go for a referendum as some changes in the Constitution in what is now termed as the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2020. A couple of things there Raila highlighted before President Uhuru Kenyatta spoke, that we've been, as a country, we've been responding to challenges by running away. So in essence, we've not been solving some of these challenges we've been facing and problems. So they have been compiling. And I think in 2007, and we've seen even a couple of years back there, is, you know, we just need a bit of trigger and we see the whole country can indeed fall apart. And he also said our diversity seems destined to be our curse if you're not very careful in how we handle this very important thing called ethnicity in this country, we must be courageous enough to admit that what we have right now does not work. That is what Raila said, and we have to fight to save ourselves from ourselves, and also to ensure that we leave our children a better Kenya in the future. And President Uhuru Kenyatta there said that Kenya is indeed greater than any individual, and for the country to come together, its leaders must come together, and national interest must always prevail against any elections and anything else. National interest must always come first, and there he reiterated that indeed nobody should be left behind when it comes to unity, cohesion, and all that entails a stable country. Professor, those are the sentiments 3 years ago. I don't know, so 3 years later, how would you say they've been doing, or how would you rate their performance, or how would you rate not their performance, but how would you are those words they spoke there, have they lived on those words, these two leaders?
Yes, Miriam, you heard them call themselves my brother. Are they calling each other up today, brother? Yes. Even you have heard from unlikely quarters, people saying, go and tell your brother, my brother here, your brother of the handshake. So Miriam, they have lived the spirit of the handshake. And it is as if had gone through the handshake. You had to say that the founding, the spirit of the founding fathers of these nations. That's what they are carrying on through, Miriam. And that's the pattern that they need to hand over the next generation of a united and a cohesive and a country where everyone feels that it's a Kenyan. So me, from where I sit, Miriam, anything which embraces peace, anything which brings the people of Kenya together, that is a good thing. Mm-hmm. How I wish that the deputy president could have put Kenya first. We wouldn't be having this kind of noise. And I have no doubt in my mind, some or even the things causing confusion in ODM and even other parties, the and the monies which have been looted from this country has got a role to play. But Miriam, we shall prevail. We shall make it. Maybe by next week, the members of parliament and the Senate will be discussing BBI bill. It will represent the people of Kenya. And as Douglas says, that the people of Kenya will decide. So on this one, on the handshake, a good thing. They have kept the spirit. They have walked the channel. They have walked the talk. And this is what you will be remembered of as a leader. Miriam, I submit.
Okay, thank you so much, Jevan. Have the two leaders stayed true to the cause?
Thank you, Miriam. And let me say this. The handshake was a meeting between two political giants. It was not a meeting of political squirrels. Therefore, that is why you see these people who have been going around trying to sabotage the BBI. These are people who are not supposed to be there, Miriam. And Miriam, from the events that have happened last week, from James Orengo, from Irungu Kangata, shows us clearly the intention of having BBI done by two people who have interest of Kenyans. Miriam, I tell you, if the handshake was extended to a third party, we could not be having a handshake. We could not be celebrating 3 years of handshake. And to your question, Miriam, yes, BBI and the spirit of handshake rather has lived to its core. Because today, Miriam, we have still seen former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta walking the route of unifying this country, walking the route of having economic growth in this nation, walking the route of ensuring that we have electoral justice, and ensuring that our judiciary, Miriam, lives to its mandate, lives to its task, and delivers justice without biasness. Mm-hmm. Therefore, to me, I still hold that BBI, the handshake is still strong, the handshake is still on course, and the people have kept it moving is President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister. We know for the last 3 years, the people calling themselves Tangatangas, the enemies of progress, inner circles in a ODM party, they have come out fire blazing that they want to destroy the handshake. They want to destroy the handshake. But for 3 years, Miriam, their efforts have not bared any fruits. This shows that BBI is very strong, and this shows that the bond that is holding the President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister is mentally bonded, and it will not break easily. That is why they have sidelined noise from their friends, their inner circles, and they have maintained the course of taking this country to the next level. And Miriam, we have seen for the 3 years, Kenyans have started joining hands. Kenya have started followed the route of unification, the route of peace and prosperity, and they have supported the handshake. Handshake was initially of 2 people, but today the handshake is for all Kenyans, Miriam. When you go around the country, when a Kikuyu goes to Kisumu nowadays, the first thing when you say your name, people celebrate you because of handshake. People are handshaking around. Therefore, we had the major handshake, but we have small minor handshakes across the country that are bringing this country together. That to me is the spirit of handshake. That is the spirit of unification of this country to a point, whereby we are still on progress, Miriam. And I wish we reach to a point whereby we'll stop seeing Kenyans from their tribes, from where they come from, and we start seeing us, all of us, as Kenya, as one big family that belong to one nation, that works hard to make this country great. And we realize that we are the only people who have the key, who have the roadmap to the prosperity of this nation. Not a community, not a tribe, not a region, but all of us as a country. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as we were listening there, one of the key points that Raila said is that we must be courageous enough to realize that what we have right now is not working, is not serving us well. And I think out of that thinking led to the process of wanting to change the constitution. The changes that we see now that the BBI has and contains there, will they be the answer to some of these perennial problems we've been having in this country, divisive elections, the corruption and all of these things? Will it answer effectively some of the problems that we have, Douglas?
Thank you, Miriam. We know very well that I agree with Jevan. Before the handshake was about 2 people. It is the 2 leaders who came for and behalf of their supporters and also people from all walks of life, and they came together. And they brought the 9-point agenda, and then the people gave their views on what they would want changed in their country, Miriam. Before, if these people brought those issues that are captured in the BBI report, and some have been sieved along the way and all that, it means that those issues before were not there. It means those values and also the issues that Kenyans wanted looked at this constitutional moment were not there. We need to be very objective. A committee of experts was given billions of shillings to be able to sit down and also move across the country for in over 37 counties to correct the views of these people. It means the youth commission that is supposed to be entrenched in the constitution is not there. It means that the tax holidays for the young people, when I started a business, for example, I started a new business this month, and this business is going to be, when the BBI passes, which I am going to campaign for vigorously, for the next 7 years as a young person, I'm not going to pay taxes. Those issues were not there. The secret violence that we experience in our elections and the divisions that we experience and lack of inclusivity is what was lacking before, and it is now captured in this report. And also in this constitutional moment, these issues are going to be addressed and addressed critically. Miriam, in economics, we say that you cannot solve your problems with the money that you have, but you can solve your problems with the money that you have when you solve them in the order of priorities. The priorities of the people of Kenya at this point is now the issues that they have raised, and other issues, like I've said before, other issues will crop up and they'll be sorted as we go on as a country. Remember, Miriam, I have said that we cannot solve all the problems that we have with the tools that we have, the resources that we have materially, even in our own will, exhaustively or conclusively with what we have today and ourselves today. But we can solve our problems as a country if we put them in the end of the 9-point agenda, in the issues that were raised in the BBI report. As we move forward, we can continue doing that, and also as a country, putting our country to the right path, the right of progress, the path of progress and prosperity. For example, Miriam, the issue of inclusivity. When we look at inclusivity, we should stop looking at our tribal chiefs and our tribal leaders. We need to look at the issue of inclusivity, where the people of Kisumu could not enjoy government projects since 1969, when they were barred by Kenyatta 1, when they started opposing government, and they have been in subsequent governments, they have been in opposition. When we look at inclusivity, we have to look at what people in the coastal province have been talking about marginalizations from time immemorial. When we look at inclusivity, we have to look at the floating bridge in Riwatoni that I'm very passionate about, and you are also very passionate about, and every other Kenyan. We have to look at the Ndongo-Kudu bypass for the people of coastal province. It had to cut many hours of travel in I think in less than 1 hour or so. When we look at the issue of inclusivity, we have to look at where leaders would take development to their region at the BS of other people. When we look at the inclusivity, we have to look at what happened in Kakuma, from Kakuma and also to Turkana, to Rondwa town in Turkana County, because these people were excluded and that road was not tarmac, and they were facing structural challenges and infrastructural challenges. When we look at inclusivity in this country, we have to look at inclusivity from a 360 degree. When we talk about inclusivity, and each of us should feel the effect when development trickles down to them, brick and mortar. When their people are appointed in government, that is a human resource. When we look at inclusivity, we need to see the president, whoever becomes president, is able to now come and also equalize us, decentralization of these resources to our counties and also to our wards, Miriam. When people in Marachi ward in Busia County are experiencing the same thing I'm experiencing in Kiagu ward, because these monies have been decentralized from National Treasury to counties, from counties and sent to our people, we can be able to determine the destiny of our country. And yes, the issues that you are saying are going to solve some of our perennial problems as a country, if we objectively and committed, we commit to this and also walk this path as a country and as a people, Miriam. Because when we talk about inclusivity, we need to look at it at 360 degree. When we talk about the cyclic violence that we experience in every direction, we need to address these issues and also make sure that they are entrenched in the constitution, no matter who becomes president, or not go competing and also sleeping on the tarmac saying that the elections have been stolen. Okay. When we look at these issues, Miriam, we need to look at them from a 360 degree and agree, like our people, inclusivity has been able to be entrenched in the constitution. Our leaders, political leaders, regional leaders, our MCAs and local people are able to practice that, and as a country, we can be able to move forward. Thank you, Miriam.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much. And of course, President Uhuru Kenyatta, after that handshake, almost a year later, President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga were invited for the National Prayer Breakfast in the U.S. in February 2020. They were invited due to their Unity Pact following the 2018 March 9th handshake that signaled the end of their political animosity. And they've really been trying to stay together. 3 years later, maybe a lot of people in this country were a bit skeptical. They thought this is just another political gimmick, or this is just another political something that they're doing. But we've seen them stay true to the course. But that has not augured very well with some people who are still opposed to this handshake. 3 years later, why have some people refused to warm up to the essence of this handshake, Musa? Please, before I bring in Doctor.
I think, Miriam, you've asked me the reason why some leaders have decided to step aside and, not to engage in these national consensus. As former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga has put it, is that we should be not putting in the same basket the politics of 2022 and the political engagement on BBI. These are two different things, Miriam. But what we are seeing, and what even President Uhuru Kenyatta has found himself really in a very difficult situation. President Uhuru Kenyatta understands very well, and even anyone understands that the only people who can drive anything, the only people who can work around, the only people who can maneuver and do one or two in implementing government policies are these politicians. So these guys took advantage of the sincerity and openness of the president by doing one, Miriam, we know very well. President Uhuru Kenyatta had to go down to the grassroots and talk to these MCAs on the importance of this BBI, Miriam. It's very unfortunate. If indeed they could have really respected President Uhuru Kenyatta, Miriam, and I know he really meant this one to help the community, to help this country, then these MCAs should not have put demands of, we want cars, we want, I don't know what, 7 million, the MPs are getting 7 million car grants, 2 million is nothing for us. Miriam, if indeed these guys could have really respected and adhered to the principles and the symbols of the presidency of this country, Miriam, they should not have done, or they should not have over-demanded from the president of this country. But what do we say? President Uhuru Kenyatta is such an accommodative person. He had to listen to them, Miriam. So we have people bringing interest of resources over the interest of the nation, Miriam. That is the first argument of mine. You tend to see leaders, instead of pushing for something unconditionally, they had to put demands on the table for right Prime Minister and former Prime Minister and President Uhuru Kenyatta. We are not going to do this if you are not going to do this. And for the information, these MCAs should be informed that President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga were the people who really fought for the promulgation and institutionalization of the 2010 Constitution, Miriam. So it's as if you are threatening the author of the document by telling them, we need 1 for 2, we need 2 for 3. That is the problem I've seen, resources, Miriam. Number 2, conflict of interest. Look at Musalia Mudavadi, look at Kalonzo Musyoka, look at the leaders we have. The leaders we have is that President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga trusted these people will be the face of the regional BBI support and recommendation, Miriam. But it is turning out to be that when President Uhuru Kenyatta is pushing for reconciliation and understanding of the communities and peace, others are fighting in Matungu, Miriam. When President Uhuru Kenyatta is really fighting for issues of electoral reforms, someone in the name of his former CAs is slapping a civil servant, Miriam, in a polling station. So the leaders we are seeing here, the two are very genuine. Raila Amolo Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta are genuine. But the sheep following them, Miriam, are now the problem, Miriam. They are not reading. And that is why Professor Onyari said, the meaning of this document is best understood by the 2 principles, Miriam.
Okay.
Others are misinterpreting it. That is number 2. Number 3, Miriam, what I'm seeing in this essence is that President Uhuru Kenyatta is now heading to 60 years. Raila Amolo Odinga is now heading to 80, Miriam. These are people whom I'm very sure Uhuru Kenyatta is not going to need any political seat come 2022. Take it from me, he's not going to need any political seat. The same to Raila Amolo Odinga, but now the narrative has been changed, and I solemnly blame on the media, the mainstream media on this, Miriam, for feeding lies to the community, for feeding unverified information to the people at the ground, Miriam. What would a common man perceive when you write and tell a person that the clause which shall limit the, governor's term limit has been removed from BBI? And we are seeing this being spread in Twitter. We are seeing this being spread by chief political bloggers, Miriam. What will be the result? I really blame the mainstream media. For my opinion, the mainstream media should have done it in a way that even it should be their role to translate and put into lingual perspective on how even all the 42 tribes in this country can understand the document, Miriam.
Okay.
We've been turning them as the fourth arm of the government, the fourth estate, but they have not performed their role. So the 3 that I've outlined, Miriam, are the sole reason why we are seeing leaders shifting instead of trying to stand with the 2 principles, Miriam.
Thank you so much. Just for your information, the mainstream media is radio, television, and print. So bloggers and those are just bloggers. They don't fit. We're all, but there's a difference there. As a professional journalist, I'll tell you that. Right now, we are joined by Dr. David Matsanga. Doctor, a very good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning, the panel. Happy birthday to Douglas Kirimi. I don't know whether you had told your friends you have your birthday, but thank you very much. I've got a notification. Good morning to Musa Japan and Professor Onyari. Professor Miriam, may I address? One, 3 years ago, it looked impossible for Kenya to sit, to eat, to talk, to drive, to do business. But two men, little known to us, behind the scenes, were crafting something that could please us. I am one of those victims that I could not travel to Kisumu, or if by bad luck that my car was seen in Kisumu and I have a puncture, I think I would not have been here talking to you today. Likewise, there are very many people from Kisumu. If their cars were found in some different parts of Kenya, because of the politics of NASA and the Jubilee, they would not come back with their cars. But here we are. The two gentlemen have listened to all your statements this morning, and I thank you very much for the in-depth analysis of this situation. Especially, Miriam, when you touched on BBI losing direction. Did people understand what the 9 points are? Do Kenyans really know the intention? And the professor came out very nicely. Professor came and said, hello, this thing seems to be known. No, professor, no. I just want to bring you back, and you are part of the BBI. You are part of the 9 points. You are part of the handshake. You are one of those who has been giving masks to people when you find them without masks. Is that not national ethos, patriotism, which was lacking in Kenya? So among one of the 9 points, how many Kenyans can help a man who is disabled to go in the bus first, then you come later? Very few. All of us are running for the bus. But this man has no one leg. We climb and even throw him down. His stick is broken by the matatu.
That's no ethos.
Those are ethos. Exactly. Exactly. The country needed to reinvent itself. There was need to reinvent. President Uhuru Kenyatta, in the speech that you put there at the top of the hour, said time has come to move, to do something different, to live in a united nation country, to put our differences aside. Political differences can be there. Disagreeing politically does not mean you are enemies. But let me bring the bombshell, the elephant in the house. The bombshell is this. What is BBI? Don't call it BBI now, but what is it? And the professor, do you know where we have missed a point? Oh, everybody has missed a point except me. Me, I have not missed a point. And all of you in Kenya seem to have missed a point. I'm sorry, including the leaders themselves. And I want to say it here openly. You've missed a point. And let me go slow as I deliver my submission. The point you have missed is this. BBI, building of bridges, build bridges initiative, to build a bridge. What do you do when you are building a bridge? Maybe let me go back to teach us. What do? You need concrete, you need stones, cement, you need iron bars, you need a river. Because you can't build a bridge over nothing. Have you ever seen a bridge over nothing? I'm teaching now, and let people take notes. Because all of us have missed a point. All these quarrels, don't tell me, all these quarrels, had people listened to me, to this mouth, I'm not bragging, I'm not saying I'm the only educated man, but had you listened to my cry for a redemption strategy, okweyonja mu mubiri, okweyonja, okwenaza, usafishe roho, tusafishe roho zetu. Roho zetu hapa Kenya ziko na uchungu, tuko na uchungu. You miss the point. And the professor admitted that today. We all miss the point. We all miss the point. That's why the train is having difficulties. Have you seen why the train is having hiccups? Because somewhere we forgot the original aim. The original aim was to remove uchafu. Tulikuwa na uchafu. Uchafu mingi. Makasiriko mingi. I think, am I talking good Swahili here?
Oh, yes, that's very good one.
I don't see Karanja and Douglas wishing me a good luck in this Swahili thing. And Musa is hiding away. You know, I want to see you encouraging me to speak Swahili. Because it's not my...
You are doing perfectly well.
Makasiriko, watu wanakasirika. Kila mtu amekasirika. And let's get this very clear. Kila mtu is annoyed. Everybody is annoyed. That you go to a nightclub, a restaurant, you just knock or step on somebody, he looks at you as if he wants to grab you. So look at this one. People, paranoia. People are annoyed. People are emotionally not together. They were not together. And that is why the two leaders sat down. You see what has confused the whole thing is the names BBI. But that's all. The letters BBI. Believe me or not. This thing is called a redemption strategy. A redemption strategy has the following components. And take notes. Number one component is truth telling. Truth. Number two component is reconciliation. Number three component, accountability. Number four component is reparation. Number five component is I have said reparation, restitution. Number six, if you have done the following, then you have what we call, finally, you have healed. The healing process. That when you go to an election, now, let's teach each other on this one. Professor, when you are talking about corruption, isn't it accountability?
Oh, yes.
When you are talking about truth, isn't it the truth that you talk and the nation is better than being religious, being a Muslim, you tell the truth? Are you not having national ethos?
Correct.
Are you not patriotic if you talk the truth about Kenya? If you reconcile, will there be violence in Kenya?
No.
If you hold a free and a fair, transparent election with a new electoral mechanisms, where will the violence come from? All these components lead to one method, and then a subset leads to another set, which is a united Republic of Kenya. The 9 points therefore touch the many components of the redemption strategy. People feared to call it a redemption strategy because they think maybe Matanga could claim the rights. But it's all right. I am the only one since 2015 when the case of the president was dropped in the ICC, I started singing redemption. I said it in national television everywhere, over 3,000 times. Even in one television station, K24, I was called, have you called Mr. Redemption Strategy? People did not understand. They even nicknamed me Mr. Redemption Strategy. It was a redemption strategy. They got it wrong. Why they are fighting now is they got it wrong. They got it very right. A good thing, the handshake. And guess what? Those who wanted to undermine it, like the Deputy President Ruto says he doesn't know it. He distanced himself. He ran very fast and stood on the hill and said, let them fight, then I will come later. But the noble word that the president and Raila Odinga brought of reconciliation, that's the word that drove me to be in this, Professor Onyari.
Amen.
And this is reconciliation, forgiveness, reconciliation, reparation, restitution, truth-telling, accountability, removal of corruption. Are these not the words that you need? Are these not the words Kenyans want? Are these not the words that we think today can help this country grow? I believe these are the same words. If Kenya does not listen to them, Kenya cannot be a peaceful country. If there is no change in the electoral system, Kenya will not be able to advance. People talk of 2022. The biggest problem was very clear. Someone hijacked. Professor Onyari, just think of this. Someone just hijacked a very good healing process and turned it into a political process. And named it Mr. Politics. No. And that's why Kenyans within the next 3 months or so need now to read this document. Most of them are now reading this document. Believe me or not, if you bring that document in by May and you want a referendum, Kenyans will agree with you. Because they have seen the sweetness. What is wrong if one MCA was getting 13 million and is going to get 30 million? 30 million for a ward, 30 million for a parish. Surely, and you sit down as a parish committee for 30 million shillings. Put up your Oxymoloca dispensary. equip it with medicine. Who is going to stop you? If the village decides that we want this money, this time to build this bridge, we want this money to build a dispensary, is there anything wrong?
Nothing wrong with the professor.
How can a normal person refuse such an offer? A ward in Kenya will be 30 million nicer. Even the MCA can actually make the bank manager run out of town. Even if the money is not his, but he's controlling, the MCA is controlling 30 million shillings. He's the signatory. Look at that. There is World CDF, W Development Fund, WDF, which is going to go to the rural areas to build schools, to repair schools, to repair roads, to give farmers incentives, to make social clubs, to give sports a chance, to have a village football pitch. How many villages in this country have a football pitch? Isiolo, do you have a football pitch in your village? No. In my village, we grew up, there was next. My grandfather left a football pitch. I'm telling you in the name of God. These people knew they left it for sports. That it leave it. It is still there. I don't know whether they have built. Today they have built houses. So 30 million shillings for a ward. Nobody can refuse. The only people. I was listening this morning. Welcome back, Miriam. I was listening this morning. MCA from Eldoret, where Mr. Ruto comes from, they were swearing, several of them, they were swearing they will pass. How can they miss that money? They are swearing. They were saying it on TV and KTN. I was listening. About 5 of them, they said, no, we are in for this. We want it. How can we be left behind? Because this is something that brings in money. The MP, for example, the Deputy President is home. He is going to have 3 extra constituents. And each constituency will have 100 million. 100 million each. Do you know, the people have not read this PBI properly. At 35%, the constituency will have 100 million shillings of CDF. Now, if you add 100 million shillings of CDF, and then add 30 million of each ward, have you seen how development is going to work? Give Kenya 10 years. Give Kenya 10 years. If we stamp out corruption, ladies and gentlemen, this country will be like another India. Because of the weather, I can't say it will be like Britain, because there is no snow here. Britain is a place where snow is winter and summer. We are divided. They give you some sunshine for 2 months. And then after that, you have to struggle to find where sunshine is. Kenya will be like India, with the manufacturing capacity, with the infrastructure that you are laying down, with the health care system that you are laying down, with the good airports that you are building. 10 years to come, Kenya will rise and shine again. I therefore submit the BBI or redemption strategy originally was brought for the sake of saving this country from going to any turmoil. But somewhere, politicians hijacked it, turned it into a political animal. And that is where the trouble began. But I want to assure you, and I want to assure those who have studied conflict resolution, that a small wind does not come to shake a ship that is heavy. BBI is heavy on a very deep waters. So a small wind on top cannot shake it. President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta will not accept for anybody to come to the streets again. 2, Raila Amolo Odinga will not accept. Now let me bring you a bombshell. That's finished. Look at do you know why Katiba Kenya is opposing BBI?
Linda Katiba.
On 24th of February 2021, somewhere in New York, in offices of Open Society Foundation, a ransom, let me call it a ransom, of $476 million was floated. What is the figure? $476 million. For today, Miriam, I will not name the people, the contacts, and the routing. I'm following the routing. Half of it has arrived in one country in Africa, somewhere in the south. $476 million by Open Society Foundation. And I want to leave you the panel to guess. And I want you to guess for yourselves. The panic is money. If you don't talk the truth, who else is going to tell you the truth? I'm not talking about the Kenya money. I'm talking about dollars. Real dollars. Linda Katiba had thought they had got a chance. And this was the chance to topple this government. They were promised, not promised. George Soros has put down $476 million on Kenya. And more will come. So when people hear this dollar, the greeny one, and if you think I'm telling a lie, wait. Just wait for a few days. Wait. Wait. Ngoja kidogo. Inakuja. Today they are going to hold a press conference. Just listen to the mouth. The way they are crying. Why are they crying? Because of COVID-19, their messenger has not flown to that country to collect the money. A man from the village of Mr. Professor or Professor Onyari called Kegoro. Where is Kegoro now? Just tell me. Kegoro is not in his office. Where is Kegoro? Where has he been for the last 1 week? Bwana msicheze na sisi tunawajua. And we shall help Uhuru Kenyatta to expose you. Where is Kegoro? Don't tell me he's in a hospital. No. Kekuru was appointed the managing director of Open Society Foundation of George Soros. Where is he now? What was he doing in that place, the restaurant? What was he eating? Huh?
Tell us.
So no, wacha mambo ikuje. So anybody who is handling any NGO, that's why you see that woman, all of them, they are very bitter. When Kibwana withdrew, the money, Kenya was put on a ransom. That if you get, can we give you this? Are you able to do this? Last night at this morning at about 2 a.m., I was talking to my contact in the United States about what is happening in Equatorial Guinea. Miriam, you are coming up with that story later. I don't want to finish the sweetness out of it, or if you have not. But let others hear. Equatorial Guinea was simple. People put down the money and they said enough is enough. And all of a sudden, and it's from the same source, all of a sudden, if you are not careful, why would a normal person tell you that there are subset clauses that they have not worked on, but they can continue to be there when a person is a lawyer, because they want to bring a regime change. We have intercepted that information. I don't want to say we, I have that information. I'm tracing, I'm following slowly. As soon as this man takes a flight and the COVID-19 test, I now know the money is coming now. Okay? When we are following things, that is what we do. An investigative journalist should never sit and watch himself under his shoes. Miriam, the NGOs in Kenya want a regime change. It doesn't surprise you when the former Chief Justice turns up to be a board member, a director, executive director of Haki. What is that organization? He joined an organization. He's now a member. Where because money is coming. So, where do you hear of Ekuro Court? Do you hear him anymore? Miriam, do you hear about the Ekuro Court? Where is he?
He's been quite silent.
Yes, were we wrong when we published, when we said you and me, we are here? We threw, with Professor who was there, I think so. We threw all the things here and we gave the evidence. Where is he? He got what he wanted. He milked the cow of George Soros and disappeared. Until his own office ousted him from the chairmanship. Because they are saying, so if you can, a human being has 500 million, Musa, that has been passing on his account. Can that person will become a threat to national security? $500 million.
It's a threat.
In a bank. And that bank manager allows the draw of that money. So all these hiccups in summary media, or hiccups you see, or tanga, Who is Tanga Tanga? Tanga Tanga is led by George Soros' man. In Dr. William Ruto's office, there's a man called Songoye. Do you know him? Murkomen, Senator Murkomen was working with George Soros. Did you know that? Kimani Ichungwa, why does he have all George Soros projects in Kikuyu? Karanja Tag, can you tell me, is Kikuyu the only constituency that should have an MP unopposed? Are there no educated people there?
They're there, but the power of money.
Yes. How much money did the NGOs pour in Kimani Ichungwa's constituency? Mwangalie mzuri. Angalia mzuri. Even Hassan Omar coming back to Ruto is coming back because he has said we shall do this to get money from George Soros. Even the DP himself does not have the money. They are gambling over this money. For any money, he doesn't have it. It is getting finished. If he has it, it's finished. Because they have lied to him. They are building big houses out of his money. But he doesn't know. He keeps on giving out. Because they are relying on George Soros' money that is going to be pumped into to disrupt this nation. Those are the people. Kigoro comes from the same village with Professor Onyare. But when Kagoro is talking about this country called Kenya, you might think he was never born in Nyamira. When he's talking in front of Bazungu, demonizing this country, Kenya, you can even go and lock yourself in a toilet for short call, it becomes a long call, and wait until the discussion is over. That's Kegoro. So the government is up to you. At least for that country in the south, some countries where they are using to dump the money, then Wakina Boniface Mwangi to fly in and collect and bring. We have detected. We are watching. So the stake is George Soros versus BBI. They will not be Kenyans. You will see today by the end of the day, Eldoret UG will pass. You know, the guy is playing Machiavellian politics. He has told those guys now, our aim was to embarrass either Kiambu or Baringo. For you, just pass it. The MCAs in Eldoret are going to pass the bill. You will see. And then he comes and said, after all, my own place, people agreed. So I'm also in.
That's what he said.
Yes. Nikolai Machiavelli. I think, Miriam, you had talked about that in the morning, but I am now emphasizing the point. It is in Nikolai Machiavelli's operation. So thank you very much, Miriam. Mine are those that we lost the format. He said we should have stuck on the 5 or 6 principles of the 9 points. And that is, I am not only talking here. I've disagreed with very many people over that. And those who can hate me, Professor, I'm very happy to be hated. In fact, I am happy. If you come, don't hate me because I've refused to give you food. But when we have disagreed on academic point of view, which I know I'm right, an academic point of view that this was a 9 point to reinvent Kenya. It was not to politicize Kenya, to reinvent Kenya, to unite it towards the 2022 elections. I submit.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much, Doctor. And as we come to the end of the show today, I'll just ask one question, and I'd like the panelists to respond to it. From your own, judging from what happened and then what culminated to that handshake and where we are today, if that handshake never happened, where do you think the country would be today? I'll start with you, Professor.
You know, Miriam, that is a very good question. And I don't want to be God. But let me just have this to say, that history is history. What happens in your neighbor's door, don't think that there will be an angel which will come and jump your house. If we miss the redemption strategy, Miriam, this country will never be the same again. Kenya is not an island of peace, Miriam. You look at your neighbors. Look at DRC, look at Uganda, look at Burundi, look at Rwanda, look at Southern Sudan, look at Ethiopia, look at Sudan. You think we are all that special? If we don't do the things right, if we don't address the 6-point components which Dr. Masangas every say, we should be able to learn to speak the truth. So if we did not speak the truth then, Miriam, we should be able to speak the truth now. We should be able to reconcile. This country needs reconciling, Miriam. That's why, Miriam, when we are coming to the table to reconcile, others are jumping out. Miriam, this country could not be what it is today because we have refused to account. I've told you, someone carries money to a church in a sack. Can you account us? Can you account to us, Miriam, where you get the money, which bank you bank, which business you do? And because of this, Miriam, the young people, Miriam, the chairman you are seeing before you, the Douglas and the Musa, this generation is becoming impatient. They want opportunities, Miriam. This is an army. It will explode end time. So, Miriam, the country could be not be what we have today. It could have not been the handshake. The economy had already been affected, Miriam. Miriam, which investor will want to come and invest in this country, in a chaotic country, Miriam? Which investor will want to come and lose money? You know what happened to Safaricom, Miriam? Resist. You know what happened to the major products of Bidco, Brookside, name them, resist. Miriam, the country could not be the same. But we want to thank God that he spoke to the Prime Minister and the President, and how we pray that, Miriam, we should start speaking the truth and address those things which the BBI has tried to address. Of course, we cannot make a perfect document. What will be Musa and the rest of the people do tomorrow if we complete the document? You, Miriam, you want to tell us you want them to come and sit and enjoy all that we did. They have got a duty and responsibility, Miriam, to say what country they want it to be. Miriam, the young people will not be brought on the table if it could have not been the handshake, Miriam. And Miriam, you know I say, you don't discuss about issues, about people, agendas, about the people, if they are not on the table. BBI is bringing everybody on the table so that you can be able to say what you want. Mm-hmm. That's what I submit, Miriam.
Thank you so much, Javan.
Thank you, Miriam, for that good question. And let me say that if it's not for the handshake, which later gave birth to BBI, we could not be where we are as a country. The progress that we have made to collection of recommendations from Kenyans to create their way on a prosperous nation could not have happened if it was not for the handshake. Miriam, the peace that we enjoy today, the political interaction, the social welfare, the economic growth that we see in the country, the development shift across all to the country to a point where Kenyans said that the country is under construction could not be coming to a reality if was not for the handshake. Therefore, the handshake was something that good. And Miriam, prior to handshake, this country was paralyzed. This country was coming to a stagnation or to a standstill. And Miriam, you saw the demonstrations that were happening in Nairobi. They started in Nairobi. They went to Mombasa, Kisumu, and Miriam, they were heading to all major towns, Busia, Kakamega, Mumias. Every NASA stronghold was warming up for these demonstrations. And what the effects of this demonstration? They send away investors, business are destroyed, people lost their lives. Miriam, they boycotted products from companies in this country. Job creation was lost, employment was lost. Some people lost their job, lost their property, lost their loved ones. Miriam, if was not for the handshake that cooled things down, Miriam, we were heading to a very unmanageable situation. Maybe Miriam, if it was not for the handshake and for the patriotism from President Uhuru Kenyatta and former Prime Minister Odinga, maybe we could not be speaking what we are doing today. Maybe we could not be here in the first place because things could have erupted. Maybe we could be having two countries. Miriam, there was a move to succeed this country into two. Maybe, Miriam, we could be in the Republic of Kenya and others to be in the Central Republic of Kenya. Miriam, handshake has brought tranquility, peace, and a feeling of Kenyanism. When you go around Miriam, people start seeing themselves as Kenyans. This has been brought by the handshake. And I see in future, Miriam, we will move from the tribal and the regional politics and to go for a national conversation. Because handshake through BBI has set the agenda for a prosperous nation. And the young generation, Miriam, they have seen, because they are able to read courtesy of free primary education, they are able to read and comprehend the BBI document. They are ready for a prosperous nation, a country where our diversity should be our unity, our tribes should be used as a means of celebrating our culture, but not dividing us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Douglas, what if the handshake never happened? Where do you think the country will be today?
Thank you, Miriam. I will look at it from three perspectives, or 3D perspective. One is the political side. We would be having a very polarized country, a very broken country, a country that we could not have been able to call home. Maybe George Soros would have gotten through David Day and the company, because David Day was the architect of the breakaway of our country. George Soros wanted to use this kind of a group so that we can break our country into the middle. I was young, I was naive, I didn't know what I was saying in 2018, 2017, when they were talking about breaking the country into two. This would have forced the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta to come down, and that is the intention that they would have happened if the handshake did not happen in 2018. In politics, we need to run to see what is being said and what is not being said. What was not said and what is not being said in this country is that politically, this country would have been broken into two. Or in other words, the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta would not have been the way we know it today. Economically, we need to know and also realize that so many businesses were sabotaged in way back from 2007, 13, and also 17. Economically, so many businesses during the resist movement were paralyzed because products like Brookside were not being bought, and any other associated product like Safaricom. Businesses were suffering losses, huge losses, Miriam. And this affected even the smallest merchant in the chain, affected including ordinary Kenyans. And this would have crippled our economy. Maybe we would have entered recession since 2018 because of that political tensions that were simmering that time. Again, socially, people could not be able to accommodate others. People could not buy from Kikuyus in Kisumu because Baba's election has been stolen. People in Mombasa using the historical miasma that they have been fed since time immemorial. They would have continued resisting and also resisting other communities from doing business in the coastal province. And people would not have been able to come the way they have come this far as the people of this country. We need to accept even in Garissa, we have different communities in Ramu, in Mombasa, and every other place in this country.
Okay, we apologize for that. Douglas seems to have suffered a bit of a technical hitch there, but I think he has already made his point. Musa, end it for us.
Thank you, Miriam. I always believe that if Kenya could have been living without a handshake, Miriam, I would not have even thought about this country. I would have thought the environment our neighbors could have been living in. What could have happened to the Tigray question, Miriam? Could we have any source of, humanitarian intervention, Miriam? Could we have talked about the nemesis of what happened with South Sudan, Miriam, where Kenya sent a United Nations peacekeeping force in Juba, Miriam? So all these are countries which has been through a lot of turbulence. These are countries which survived Idi Amin's threat. These are countries which survived Siad Barre's ideas. This is a country which survived Osman Sharmake's that NFD should not be part of Kenya. NFD should be part of Somalia. We've come from far, Miriam. We've come from Shifta War. We've come from Operation Fagia Shifta, Operation Shambulia Sana of 1967. Our sovereignty has undoubtedly been at the highest, Miriam. And I believe all these could have been in vain. Put into perspective that the 2007-2008 general election was all the litmus test of something which will be tantamounting maybe of what could have happened without Handshake. And I quote famous President of the United States of America's words, Ronald Reagan, saying, peace is not absence of conflict, but it is the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means, Miriam. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Doctor, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Nothing much, since you have done a great job since 10 o'clock. I just look forward to hearing something, and I will give you the latest coming from Naivasha, if you want me to do so. And we were right yesterday, Miriam, that the people were looking for another vice president. So there you are. We were right. I told you. So that be as it is. My worry is when you go to this topic, I might not be able to, is the question of where is Africa heading to? It looks like every country that has oil, Miriam, then your panel discuss that, should be prepared for a very bitter war. Very bitter war. What happened in Equatorial Guinea, if you read it, you will know that one of these days, we might also be injured because of this oil. Mm-hmm. And that Uganda will be injured because of the oil. Countries that have kept quiet and they have not said we don't have are safer now. But what happened in Equatorial Guinea has left me very worried, man. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much. Happy birthday, Douglas. If we don't meet, Professor, happy lectures. I am here. But don't forget, I have a show at night all the time. Today, I have a show on diplomatic leaks. We are trying to see whether we can have many other intellectuals, and we shall be asking intellectuals like Professor Anangwe. There's another professor, David Hoyri, my professor, Doctor, who has agreed to be giving an input on international affairs from London. So thank you very much. There is that show at 8 p.m. Diplomatic Leaks all the time. Thank you.
All right.
I don't have much to say.
Very well.
But I'm here. If there's a point that becomes sweet, you will see me switching again. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you so much. That is Dr. David Matanga from the Political Command Center. Thank you so much, Professor Jared Onyari. Thank you, Jivan Karanja from 9 UK. Thank you, Douglas Kirimi from Meru. And Musa Abdi Haji, all the way from Isiolo County. This has been the People's Court. My name is Miriam Ogotu, and I shall be back here at 3 p.m. East African time with the latest across the continent of Africa. Bye-bye for now.
must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.